Welcome final year students to my ultimate survival guide. It feels crazy to me that I'm giving advice and wisdom on how to complete third year because it feels like just yesterday I was a little fresher, going to my very first lecture, and now I've done the whole graduation thing and I'm no longer a student, which is quite scary. But moving on from my own mini crisis, I'm going to give you my top tips for getting through third year, or final year as it were, so that hopefully it's a little bit smoother for you than it was for me. Before lectures start use that time to do some reading in advance. It will definitely pay off because I found that reading Gone with the Wind in a week was pretty difficult to do, but I could have done that over the summer instead, and then use that time during that week to prepare for the seminar by reading like secondary reading and stuff rather than trying to tackle the main book. The second thing is that you might not have many contact hours in your final year, especially if you're a humanities student. I only had 6 hours of seminars and lectures that I had to turn up to, so it can be really easy to just like head home and say, oh yeah, I'll get on with some work this afternoon, when in actual fact you start making lunch, and then whilst you're eating lunch you're watching something on Netflix, and then oh, you're watching the next episode, and oh, you finished the season. So try not to get into that habit like what happened to me and a lot of other people I knew. So make your own timetable. That's what I found was really useful. I just filled in those extra hours between seminars and lectures, and also after them, where I could get on with some other work. So I'd be like, I'm going to spend 2 hours in the library doing my reading for this module, or I'd be like, oh, I'm going to spend an hour planning my next essay. Just have certain things that you have to try and do to keep you busy and to keep you on track, so that when it comes to deadlines and stuff, you're much more organised and it's going to go a lot easier for you. Now, a lot of third or final year students have a kind of dissertation or a big project to do. My biggest piece of advice for you is to definitely choose something that you genuinely are interested in and enjoy. You're going to be spending a lot of time researching this, and if you don't really like it from the beginning, then by the end of it you're going to be sick to death of it. So I spent ages researching and coming up with titles, and then going back and forth and discussing with friends and my family like what I was going to be doing, and it took me a long time to decide on something. So before you get to that stage, spend a lot of time researching and going over things to think about what you might want to do, and don't be influenced by what other people are doing. It can be really easy to choose something which is like quite a traditional dissertation idea, something that you think you should be writing about, but it's way better to do something that you're interested in, you can come up with some original ideas about. It's all about your own original thought and research, so choose what you enjoy and stick to that, and you'll be much better for it at the end. I'd also break down the project into smaller parts. Mine was an 8,000 word dissertation, which sounds like quite a lot to do, but by the end of it I was actually trying to cut words out of it. But the way I made it easier was by splitting it down. So I did 1,000 words for the intro, 1,000 words for the conclusion, and then 3 2,000 word chapters. So it was like doing 3 normal essays for my other modules, and then just a longer intro and conclusion, and that way it was much easier to kind of actually just start it rather than just becoming overwhelmed by this massive project that I had to do. And going back to that whole idea of timetabling, I would like put down in my timetable for the week that I'm going to spend like 2 hours looking at good quotes for chapter 2, or I'm going to finish the first paragraph of chapter 1. Then it just meant that I had certain things that were easier to tick off, and then it motivated me more to continue on and to get some more work done, rather than just being like, oh, I don't really know where to start, I'll just start writing this section, and then I'll get bored of that and we'll start writing this section. Just by splitting it up was much easier to do. And I also planned each chapter like a normal essay, so I would do an intro and then the 3 points I was going to do for that section individually, and then do all my research for that. So it was like doing little mini essays within the whole big project. I found it really useful to set my own deadlines. Of course, that was that ultimate deadline at the end when I had to submit it, but before that I had to submit a draft to my supervisor, so that was something I had to comply with. But then it was also good to set up deadlines for myself, like when I was going to finish chapter 1 by, when I was going to do chapter 2 by, also when I was going to have like a finalised draft for myself to start checking through, because it takes a lot longer to edit things and reread them than you think, especially when it's an 8,000 word project. That's actually quite time consuming to read through, even if you're just doing it quickly. So definitely set aside at least a week or 2 before the final deadline to do some editing. Also make sure you give yourself enough time, because unexpected things can happen. I've always met every single deadline throughout my whole time at university. You know, I have been up late finishing stuff before, but basically just before my dissertation and one of my final module, like all of its coursework was due, I got really ill, and it took me out for about 10 days, and that 10 days have been vital in my redrafting of things and writing of things. Now luckily the university was really good and I did actually get an extension in the end, but I had to go through so much stress of, you know, worrying about getting it done, and I had to get doctor's notes and all this carry on to prove it. So basically just allow yourself enough time that if you do have a couple of days where you're, you know, feeling a bit under the weather or something crops up at home that you have to go back for, that you're prepared for that and you're not working down to like the final minutes before handing to do it, because that's just going to increase your stress and you're not going to be kind of producing the kind of work that you want to hand in. So you can't prepare for everything, but just allow yourself that bit of like buffer time that you have. You know, it's always nice to know that you have a few days more than you think and that you have a bit more time to do some redrafting, rather than be like, oh, I really wish I had a couple more days to work on this. Also found it super useful to do references as I went along. So what I did when I was researching is I'd bookmark the page, and then what I do is I'd go through and find some useful quotes, and I'd put all those quotes into a document, and then at the bottom of that I'd include like the full reference and cite exactly how I'd put it in my final piece of work, and I'd also include all the page numbers for all the quotes. So that was really useful to go back to, and then I could put them straight in my dissertation without having to, you know, copy and paste them in and be like, oh, I don't know where I found that from, then you can never find where it's from again. That could just save so much time when that's already done. And also by having lots of quotations and things on a document, that can also help to inspire what you're actually writing. I find it really useful to have those as like a starting point for my paragraphs and where my argument's going to go. I kept a notebook where I just jotted down ideas whenever I got them, and then if I ever got a bit stuck on where an argument was going or what I was doing, I'd just flick through, and then some of those would jog my memory or it'd come up with some like other direction for where my argument could go. So just whenever you feel inspired, just jot something down, and that can be quite useful to come back to then later on. A good piece of advice I got from a lecturer was to just start writing. It can be quite intimidating to just put words down on a page when you know you've got a lot of work to do, but if you can just get going and put anything down, once you've got some kind of paragraph, it's so much easier to go back and re-edit and redraft to make it better than if you had nothing there at all. So just get stuck in and then worry about making it good later on. Academics and degree aside, like that's important, but make sure you treat yourself. Like, there's a lot of stress going on in your final year, you need stuff to look forward to. It's also like your last chance to do a lot of things. We were really quite sad in our house that this might be like our final year of doing things together, so we came up with a kind of bucket list of sorts of things we wanted to do, and so that can be a good way to reward yourself, like once you've handed something in, or you've you know, just even got through a week of more studying. Just having fun things to go out and do. I still went out quite a lot in my final year, but what I did instead was I didn't overdo it, so I'd have like good nights out, but I'd make sure I wasn't coming back super late and so the next day wasn't a write-off. Everything in Exeter pretty much shuts at like 2 or 2:30 anyway, so you can still come back, get a pretty decent night's sleep and be up and getting some work done by mid-morning. So that can be a good way to do things for, like, you know, balancing the work and play side of things. I'd also definitely recommend hanging around after exams and deadlines are done. Don't just go off home, there's a lot of stuff still going on. We did like a lot of fun activities still, and we had like there was a graduation week, we had grad ball, we did like barbecues and brunch and went to the beach, and there's just like a lot of stuff going on that you can still do. So don't just head home straight away, stay around for some of that and spend some more time with your housemates and your friends. That time can also be quite a good way of looking forward to what you're doing next. Now I would say that a lot of the grad schemes and placements, if you're interested in doing that straight from university, then you need to be looking at those quite early on, because a lot of them were, all the deadlines were kind of around when a lot of my essays and things were due as well, so that can be like an extra added stress. And so I definitely put all those dates in your diary if that's the kind of thing you want to do. I'd be looking probably around Christmas time for stuff that starts for September of the following year. But personally I've decided not to go straight into a grad job. I didn't take a gap year before university, so I'm going to go and do a bit of travelling with a friend first, and then I'm going to do all my job applications and stuff at a later date. I just found it was going to be too much to balance with my work as well, and I really wanted to just focus on my degree, get that done, have a bit of time out to enjoy myself and explore some new things as well. I've spent all my time in school, gone straight to sixth form and then university, so I wanted to do something a little bit different, explore something else and kind of find out what I really want to do before applying to stuff. So that's just my perspective on things, just taking a bit of time out to do that first. But obviously if you want to go straight into a grad job or something, then check out when all those application dates are due as well. So I hope you found some of these tips useful. If you have any other questions, then please do let me know and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Best of luck with your final year. It was definitely my most stressful and most difficult because I did have to work really hard, but I did have an amazing time as well. I think it was my best year overall in terms of everything, and there's loads of fun and stuff to do at the end of it all as well. So good luck with everything. I wish I could go back to university and do it all again, so make the most of your final year whilst you're there. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again with another video very soon. Bye.